Alright, so now we come to chapter 8 of book 3, The Road to Isengard. And in this chapter, battle's over. So they are burying their dead. And, of course, Theoden asks about, the trees and all that. And Gandalf tells them about the Ents, and, they're a little surprised by that. And, of course, because they thought it was just a fairy tale. And later on in the chapter, they do see them walking, so they actually see the Ents, and so now they believe. And so Gandalf says, he's going to go ride to Isengard to confront Saruman. So Theoden, Gimli, Legolas, Aragorn, and a few riders they leave Helm's Deep to go to Isengard. And that's, like I said, they do see Ents walking as they're traveling. One boring part in this chapter, Gimli had taken refuge at one point during the battle in the Glittering Caves behind Helm's Deep. And so he goes through, a few pages here describing them to Legolas. And they end up, in the end, making a pact. If, Sauron's defeated and the war ends and all that, Legolas will go with Gimli to the caves, and Gimli will go to Fanghorn with Legolas. He does mention, though, in one spot, Gimli does, about how the Elven King in Mirkwood, his halls in the hills there in Mirkwood, were made by the dwarves. And the dwarves in the First Age did the same thing with I believe it was King Thingol. And Nagathron too is another example that they had built those for the elves, which is kind of cool. Tolkien kind of reusing concepts that he had already, but it just shows the dwarves they know how to build caves in the mountains, I guess. But anyway, they finally come to Isengard after riding, and they see that it's pretty much the walls are broken down, it's being flooded. But there's two small figures waiting on them, which of course is Merry and Pippin, and so there's kind of a reunion there of the Fellowship, minus of course Frodo and Sam, who are off going towards Mordor. And they do wonder where Frodo and Sam are during all this. Even Gandalf's thoughts are with Frodo and Sam. And of course, the Rohirrim are surprised about this as well, because they thought hobbits also were just a fairy tale. And that gets me to thinking about certain, basically mythology and all that stuff. And I know I've said it on here before, how it is based somewhat on truth. Obviously, there's no such thing as monsters and stuff, but and the gods aren't real and all that stuff. But they are based on something that happened. I mean, Odin was probably like an actual person that was deified. So you may think something's a fairy tale, but maybe it's not such a fairy tale after all. I mean, we do know that angels mated with the daughters of Adam and had children with them, the giants. And they were pretty big. I mean, Goliath himself was over 9 feet tall. But there were probably giants that were 14 to 15 feet tall. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much this chapter. And we do find out that one of the names that the Rohirrim have for the hobbits is Holbitla, which means hole builder. And obviously, knowing these books, you know where they get that from. And the chapter ends with, Merry trying to talk about all the lore of how they smoke pipeweed, because, Rohirrim are wondering about that. Because Theoden says, well, I never heard in tales that they did that. But Gandalf's like, hey, we got stuff to do. We don't have time for that. And, yeah, that's the end of the chapter. And, we'll get into the next chapter in the next video, which, again, there's really nothing to really talk about there, so probably won't be a very long video. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you all later.